Hey guys, Levi here. Here in northern Sharp County, I'm hearing a lot of forecasts that we're supposed to be getting down to around 20 to 22 in the next couple days. Cold weather sucks. I don't think anybody can argue with that. Anyway, I wanted to give you guys a couple tips on how to winterize your home. Most of you should already know this. If you don't, maybe this will help you out. Tip number one before the cold, sealing up exposed fixtures. That's going to be anything from doors, windows, if you've got cracks. Like I live in a log cabin. It doesn't seem to matter how well I seal up the outside, air still finds a way through. You can do this by putting plastic over your windows. You can do this by weather stripping your doors. This particular thing, it can get really expensive or it can get as cheap as you can afford. Having good storm windows and doors certainly help, but just that little bit of plastic over the top of them will just give you that little extra comfort. Before the cold, tip number two, heat lamps. If you live out in a rural area like I do, you're probably on a well system, and that means you probably have a well house. It's good to have a working heat lamp in there. That way your pipes don't freeze up and you're not out of water until it thaws out. And then you've got the expense of having to fix busted pipes or, even replace a pump if it's burnt up. It's good to insulate your well house if you haven't already. And one thing that I learned the hard way, last year I had an incident where I had just checked the heat lamp. I'm guessing right after I shut the door. Just the shock from doing so, it burnt the bulb out. The next morning I don't have any water, and it's because everything froze up. Fortunately, it didn't get super cold that night. It was cold enough just to block the line and cause a bit of an issue. After that, I bought this little temperature controlled outlet. I have my heat lamp plugged directly into the power outlet, and then the little temperature controlled one is plugged into the outlet beneath it. And then I have a little space heater that's plugged into that. So if by chance the heat lamp were to burn out again, then whenever that temperature drops, it's going to supply power to that space heater, and it's going to keep everything from freezing up. Before the cold, tip number three, securing your crawl space and closing your vents. I don't know how your place is set up, but at mine, I've got these little manual vents on the foundation all around the cabin. I have to go in and either open those or close those depending on the time of year. And then as far as my crawl space, I like to make sure that the weather stripping is going to be good and that there's not going to be a whole lot of cold air going up under the floor. Before the cold, tip number four, stock plenty of fuel. It doesn't matter what you heat your house with. Like I've got a wood stove, I've also got gas stoves. I like to make sure that I've got plenty of wood to last the entire winter. That's probably the cheapest option out there, especially if you take the time to go out there and cut and split your own wood. If you're running gas, make sure your gas tanks are topped off. A lot of people run electric. Just make sure that you've got a good working heater and make sure that you have a backup in case that one goes out. Before the cold, tip number five, cover windows. Now, we've kind of already discussed this with putting plastic over the outside, but this is more on the inside. On the inside, a lot of us have blinds or curtains. You should try to keep those drawn, especially in the winter months, because that's going to form a bit of an insulation to keep your warm air in and the cold air out. If that's still not doing the trick, you can always take a thick blanket and put it up over the window, and that's going to help to seal it off and maintain your temperature within the house. Now let's talk about after the cold. This means winter's here, snow's on the ground. You're going to want to stay warm, and a lot of people don't like to get outside and do things. One of the first things I would recommend is leaving your faucets cracked just a little bit. A lot of people say just a drip is enough. I've had it where even with just a drip, with that really cold air, that'll freeze up, and then you end up with this pillar of ice that's hanging from your faucet, and nobody wants that. So I like to leave them open just a little bit more like a trickle than a drip. And while this can be hard on your well pump, if that's what you're running, it's probably going to be better than having your lines freeze up and busting your pipes. The other thing that goes with that is trying to keep a warm enough temperature in your house to keep the pipes from freezing. After the cold, tip number two, isolating unused spaces. If you've got rooms that aren't commonly being used, it's probably good to make sure that those windows and doors are shut and people aren't going in and out of them. If you can seal off a room, then that's just one less place you're going to have to heat. Another way to isolate these unused spaces is you can take a towel and roll it up and stick it at the bottom seal of where a door is. There's normally that little gap underneath there. That's going to minimize air transfer between those two spaces. After the cold, tip number three, we've kind of already discussed this one a little bit, but that's covering up windows and doors. This is definitely the time to make sure that you've got curtains or blankets or something covering those large areas, especially that thin glass. I mean, the cold can just seep through it. After the cold, tip number four, use humidifiers. especially during the winter and that artificial heat. It's going to dry out the inside of your house. On my wood stove, I have 2 pots that I keep full of water, and it just evaporates to help add a little bit of moisture to the air. They make machines that you can add water to, and it'll add humidity to the air. It'll keep you from getting nosebleeds. It'll keep your skin from drying out. It'll just kind of make the inside life a little more bearable. Then our last and final tip for after the cold arrives, tip number 5, bundle up. You can keep the inside of your house as warm as you like, but you're still limited by the construction of it. If you've got thin walls or log cabin that's not sealed real great, that air is going to seep out. You're going to struggle to keep it at a consistent temperature all the time. A lot of people have central heat and air these days. That helps a little bit, but at the same time, that's also going to spike your electricity bill if that's having to kick on and run all the time. A lot of times your house is going to be warm enough to keep things from freezing, but it's just a little chilly. Rather than kicking on that heater or stoking the flame, sometimes it's easier just to throw a blanket over yourself. Anyways, that's all I've got for today, guys. If we get the cold weather they're predicting, try to stay warm and take care of yourself and your family. We'll talk to you guys later.